Hello, welcome to What's Bubbling at ZIM. I am inventor Dan Zen, and in this bubbling we're going to take a look at a Dynamo. Cool. Well, that's a dynamic sprite, so a sprite that can change its speed. Okay, let's go to the ZIM site now at ZIMjs.com. And indeed, we're showing a dynamo right here on the front, a new dynamo and accelerator. Now, if this is gone when you look at this capture, you're welcome to look under the news, and in the news back here was stuff on a dynamo, and you can read all about it and try it out from that way. Okay, back on the site, we'll take a look. So here it is. Oh, look at that guy. That sprite is changing its speed and even its direction. You see we can slow it down and turn. Oh yeah, cool. So the shooting part and all that kind of stuff in the background moving, that's we'll take a look at that a little bit later. But right now, let's just take a look at get this guy walking at different speeds. Okay. So we'll go into some code, and we've got a ZIM fit template here running 4.8.1. And we've shown before in the last bubbling how to bring in the sprite assets. So we're going to whip through that. There's a PNG and a sprite sheet. We're loading assets. When those assets are complete, we create a sprite using the JSON data here. And we center that on the stage. We'll center Regit on the stage. We may want to flip it, so to flip that sprite. And if you want to flip the sprite, it's a good idea to make sure its registration point is centered. And we're moving it down a little bit, and we're running it with the run method. So over 700 milliseconds, it's going to walk. And let's take a look at it in a browser. There she be, walking. So if we wanted to slow that down, we could change how long we are going to animate that for. But if we wanted to do it dynamically, so live, or let the user change that, this technique won't work. It's good for running a sprite at a certain, over a certain time and speed. So that's why we introduced a dynamo. A dynamo is a way to run a sprite at varying speeds. So let's create a dynamo then. Var dynamo is equal to a new zim.dynamo, and we'll go to the Zim Duo technique and provide, or give it a properties here like so. One property is which sprite are we operating on, and the sprite that we're operating on is, well, stored in sprite. Okay, fine, great. We also now give it a speed. So this is a speed in frames per second more so. So we can start off at 30 frames per second. You can put anything you want in there. And, get it going at a speed you like, and that's fine. We will not be running it like that. So that's a hard-coded sort of running. And we're not going to do that this time. We're going to use the Dynamo to run it. So a speed, and what else can we give it? What walk cycle or what label we're going to do. So the label, we don't have to, then it would run the whole thing. But here we're going to give it a label of walk. Now, if you want to see where that was, let's just show you the aside assets. Here is the sprite sheet JSON. There's all the frames. And there's walk and shoot. So the thing will do walk and shoot. Okay, and walk is going from 0 to 16, and shoot would be 17 to 24 in that series. So we're saying, please walk at a frame rate of 30 frames per second, and that's the dynamo. Now the dynamo itself doesn't have a ticker, so if we were to run this, like so, nothing there. The dynamo itself it's not a display object exactly, it's just a data construct over side of it that will play the sprite at that. So we need to now, since the run does have a built-in ticker, so we're going to have to create our own ticker. Usually there's all sorts of stuff going anyway, and we've got one, but here with hardly anything going, we don't. ZIM.ticker talker dot add, and we add a function. Any function will do. And we'll just put it in blank function for now, operating on the stage that we have, and that will update the stage for us. So we save that. It may be in the future I could possibly piggyback on the sprite that's in here and then say, well, okay, we'll then have the ticker added to the sprite stage. But anyway, watch for that later. So there it is going at 60 or at 30 frames per second. If we want to adjust that, obviously we could adjust it there, but the neat thing about a Dynamo is we're given a property that can dynamically change that. And that property is called percent speed out of 100 as well. So we go Dynamo dot percent speed. If we want it to go half as fast, we would say, hey, please go at 50%. And we save that and refresh here. And now it's going at a half speed. Now, one thing to note is we could kind of do that with Create.js, but you would do that with the frame rate. So you'd be adjusting the frame rate, and everything else would then adjust. So as far as I know, there wasn't really a way to adjust the speed of a specific sprite dynamically without adjusting all the speeds. So here we have a Dynamo that allows us to do that. And the neat thing is we can animate this or change it depending on where the mouse is or whatever. So shall we try animating it, for instance? So we're not going to just hard code it. We will say zim.animate. And note that we're using zim.animate, the Dynamo itself. We're animating a property of the Dynamo, but the Dynamo itself is not a display object. It doesn't get an animate method. I suppose I could give it one. I guess maybe I will one day. Who knows? But anyway, we'll drop back to Zim animate function, and we'll say target is the Dynamo. Because you can animate any object's properties using zim.animate. We'll also say that it's animation object obj. J will be the property that we want to animate, which is the percent speed, like so, and that will bring it right down to 0. So we're going to go from 100 to 0. Well, maybe to 10% or so. Slow it almost right down. Doesn't really matter. And then in how long? So time, how about 500 milliseconds? No, 5,000 milliseconds. Like so. Now one thing to note, well, we could rewind this as well. So we'll bring it back up again. True. So that'll bring it back up again. And we can also loop it. So we'll keep on doing that. But one thing to notice is this is not a display object. Animate usually works on display objects and automatically tries to update the stage of the display object. Well, this has no stage, so we have to say ticker false. I think this maybe could use a little bit of reworking. I mean, if we just made the Dynamo a display object, yeah, maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll see about this in the future. But for now, when we animate the percent speed of it, we set the ticker to false, so it doesn't try and update the stage of the Dynamo, which the Dynamo really doesn't have one. Okay. So, in other words, we still need this ticker down here to update the stage of the sprite. Alrighty, so we save that and refresh here, and let's see what happens. So there it is going away, blah, blah. Oh, look at that. Look at it slow down. Isn't that nice? And there it is speeding up. So we've just animated the speed of this sprite using Zim Animate, and there it is slowing down again. Why don't we try, how about we'll drop that. Let's go to the docs and see what it says about Dynamo. So we go to Zim, hit the docs, type in Dyna, and hit go. So Dynamo, here's some examples then of a ticker that is working on the stage mouse position. So now we can change the speed of it depending on the mouse position. So let's copy that. We'll come back in here and just plop it in there. So now that we have a ticker running, this is a ticker that's tracking the mouse, we no longer need this ticker function down below to update our stage. This one will do it for us. Okay, so what's going on here with this thing? Excuse me just a second. Alrighty, Dynamo %speed is equal to the stage dot mousex divided by the stage width. So that's the percentage right there, but times 100 because we're in percent, not out of 1. You know, just watch that. The Dynamo, when we're animating, it sort of makes sense to work in speeds that are a little bit bigger than decimals. I think it's just a bit nicer. So we can go from 50% to 200%, that kind of stuff. So I brought that back up to a percent speed. So we multiply the proportion by 100 and by 2. What that means is when the mouse is in the middle, it'll be normal speed because that's halfway times 100 is 50 times 2 is 100. So it'll be 100% when we're in the middle. It'll be 0 at the left, and it will be 200% at the right. So let's check it out. We refresh here. Oh, not there. Here. And something made a boo-boo. Do you see it anywhere? Oh, we've got some weird function thing happening at the back of it here. Add. I think I must have done a strange drag. That's what messed up all that stuff. So we want to add this function, and here's the function. Usually add that here. Now I'm putting backslashes in, and there's right. Okay, so strange copy and paste or something at that point there. So running a function, save that up, refresh here. There she is. Now, as I go off to the left, look at that, slows right down. Normal speed, twice as fast. Normal. Isn't that cool? So how do we make it flip or go backwards? Well, we can make the percent speed if we subtract 100 from here, minus 100. That means it will be going from minus 100 to 0 in the middle to 100 on the right. So we refresh. Did I save that? I think I did. So there it is, 0 in the middle. Normal on the right-hand side, 100, 0. And oh, animating it backwards. Freaky. So if we want it to move backwards, or make it go the other way, we need to flip it, don't we? So let's try flipping it. So that's a little bit in here. We would say if the dynamo.%speed, so this thing right here, if dynamo %speed is less than 100, no, sorry, less than 0, then we will say the sprite.scale x is equal to -1. That's as long as we're at 100% the scale, or the scale's 1. Yeah, we didn't scale the sprite at all, so we're good. If we did scale the sprite, we would have to say minus the sprite scale. So we'd store that as a variable somewhere. Else, we will set the sprite to 1. And if we had the variable for the default sprite scale, it would be, you know, that variable right there. Good. Okay, let's take a look and see if this flips the sprite. All right, so there it is going forward just fine. We flip the sprite. Cool. But it's walking backwards. Ah! That's not what we want. So we want it to go animate the sprite forwards this way and forwards that way. And so if we take a look at the documentation, take a look at the documentation for the Dynamo, there is this one right here called reversible. So we set reversible to false. In other words, it will not go into the negative numbers. So we say Dynamo, comma, reversible. Is that it, or is it able? Colon false. Let's just do a quick check. Reverse able. Able. Yeah, reversible. That sounds right. And we save that up and refresh here. And there it is going forward. And I move the mouse, and now it's going forward again. So it won't do a negative sprite number. It's sort of built for this. Cool, huh? So now it walks forward in both ways, and you can see that that's what we did to make the sprite walk in our bigger example. Now that bigger example also includes, back on ZIM here, also includes an accelerator, and that's what we'll look at in the next ZIM Bubbling here at ZIMjs.com. ZIM Bubbling, woohoo! I'm inventor Dan Zen. That was pretty cool, huh? So a dynamo. And we're going to take a look at, like I said, the accelerator, and then after that, well, maybe during the accelerator, I'm not sure. The accelerator works to make your whole scene change speed. Yeah, after that we'll move along to various controls like the motion controller, which got added in the gamepad. Okay, ciao.